as we've been discussing yesterday and the day before. Can you sell a shul? Is it ever okay to sell a shul? One thing the Gemara takes for granted is where you have the strongest type of sale called Shiva Tuvei. Sometimes there's 5, sometimes there's 7, depending in different places. Like we learned in the previous parak about the king had either 5 advisors or 7 advisors. And therefore you have people, a board, an administration of the city, eldermen of the city have to be 5 or 7. Every place they're chosen differently. Some places they're elected, some places they're just became the representatives by being influential. But if those people who are the leaders of the city, if they sold a shul, then it's completely binding and it's considered to be a valid sale on all accounts. There are times when things have to be sold. It could be many different things, reasons to come up. We're going to see throughout the Gemara that a shul, the building, does not have the same level of kedusha, of sanctity, as tashmishim, objects that are used for holiness. For example, a Torah crown, a Torah cover. And as a matter of fact, the shul is called a tashmish to tashmish. It's a accessory of an accessory. And therefore, you can never remove the holiness of a Torah crown of a Sefer Torah, a pointer, anything which is connected to a Sefer Torah, a bima, that holiness can never be taken away. However, the holiness of a shul could be taken away, and it can become unholy, the shul. It can never be desecrated, meaning a shul cannot become a place where you have a bathhouse, where you have a church or something like that. However, a shul could become a place where it's not, it could become a place where people live. It could be a place where there's a store which is selling respectable items. The Gemara brings an example of selling spices which smell very good. It does say in Svarim that if people talk in shul during davening, so that shul takes affront to it, and as a result, the shul can either get destroyed or become a place of idol worship, become a church. It does say such a thing. Well, we are not the ones to be the executioner or the judge. That's up to Hashem to decide. We're going to discuss now the holiness and kedusha of a shul. So the Gemara said, B'nei Yair, says the Gemara, it said if the people in the city sold the town square, the example we gave was by the Kollel. If the people decided to sell this plaza because some developer came and said they're going to build condos that are going to be worth trillions of dollars, are they allowed to do it? So maybe not by the Kollel, maybe somewhere else. Could they sell the city square? The Mishnah said it could only be sold to buy something of greater, and Rabbi Yehuda says of equal or greater value. The people in the city which together they decided to sell the city through the representatives or a referendum, and they decided to sell the town square for the benefit of expansion of the shul or something of that sort. These are the words of Reb Menachem Bar Yossi, Stim Tima'ah, who in turn quoted it without attributing a name. And the rules of learning Gemara is that when Mishnah is that when something is quoted without a name, it means that it's a majority opinion. If it's a minority opinion, if it's individual opinion, it will be quoted, says so and so. But if it's a majority opinion, it's said without a name, and the halacha is almost always like the Stam Mishnah, like a regular Mishnah, saying that the Rechaif, that a street has Kedusha. Many different Mishnahs, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi wrote down without quoting the author of the Mishnah. Many times Gemara will quote the author of the Mishnah. And he says, because this is a halacha according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi's opinion, which almost always is followed, there's of course exceptions to the rule. In this particular case, it's different. When it comes to the town square and the city square, I wasn't sure why I wasn't sharing. So when it comes to the city square and the town square, so then there's always then there's a machlokes, a difference of opinion. Rabbi Menachem Bar Yossi holds that it has holiness and it cannot be sold for something of lesser holiness. The sages hold that the city square does not have any holiness inherent in it at all. And therefore, there's no restrictions attached to the sale of the city square, and it could be sold. And if they decided to sell it, they could go ahead and buy a golf course with it. They could go ahead and pay for vacations for the entire city, put it into someone's pension fund, but they hold that there's no inherent kedusha in it at all. Rabbi Menachem Bar Yossi, and the Gemara asks, let us understand these two opinions. The Chaim, the sages, hold that there's no kedusha, there's no holiness in the city square. Rabbi Menachem Bar Yossi holds that there is kedusha in the city square. What's the reason there's holiness in the city square according to Rabbi Menachem, the son of Yossi? Answers the Gemara. Since in the city square, on certain public fast days, which were either a public fast where they would take the Sefer Torah out from the shul, the last of the series of fasts of 7 fasts, and everybody would daven in the street. And Mamadis is when you would have the representatives of every city and every tribe representing the Jewish people in the Beis HaMikdash. From the representatives, they would choose one from every city to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and the rest of the representatives would be in their own city, and in the city square, they would make a shul, and everybody would walk by, and they would stop, and they would join, they would fast, they would say Tehillim. Not everybody would be in the Beis HaMikdash always, but the other members would gather in their own towns, and we read earlier what they would read. They would read the story of creation every single day during that time. Now, Mamadis was only representatives of a city. It doesn't really make sense that they would overflow into the city square, that there'd be so many people. But perhaps they would do it just to publicize what it is, and there's certain versions of the Gemara which actually remove the word Ma'amadis. So since the city square is used occasionally for a shul, therefore it has kedusha, it has holiness. V'Rabbanan and the sages, if so, why do they say that you're allowed to sell a city square if you sometimes use it for a shul? And the Gemara answers, Hahu akra'i be'alma. If a city square is sold, it's only a happenstance. It's occasionally. It's not an ongoing type of thing, and therefore, it's not a problem if the city square could be is sold. There's no inherent kedusha over there. The Ritva writes that even the sages agree there is a little bit of holiness, of sanctity in the city square, and therefore you cannot, in public streets, you cannot act disrespectfully. Namely, you should not go to the bathroom on the street, which in the city squares over here, in the US and the larger cities at least, maybe they don't respect the city squares as much, and you see it. But you cannot disrespect, and you can't litter, you can't drop garbage over there in a city square. However, once it's sold, he says it's even according to the Chaim, according to the sages, it no longer has that level of holiness. Same thing, if you have an area which is set aside for a cemetery, even though no one is buried there yet, you have to act respectfully. You can't go to the bathroom, you can't eat over there. But this all brings us to a very interesting halacha. What is the status of a temporary shul, not a permanent shul, a shul which is only used sometimes. For example, you have a shul, let's say in Lubavitch Center, you have everyone davens in the shul, and you sometimes use a hallway if you have a second minyan that's being done. A temporary shul, does it have a level of kedusha, level of sanctity? There's a Pesach program in a hotel, and they set aside one of the conference rooms as a shul. So maybe, is it considered to be have halacha of a full status of a shul or not? It's a temporary shul. It's used sometimes. Could you use it? Does it have the kedusha of a shul? So that's a discussion in poskim. If such a place does have a status of a shul, even afterwards or not, then we'll see there's halachas of a shul which have to be done, even if you're not using the shul. However, if it's a place which is used only once in a while, as an exception, then when it's not being used as a shul, then it's completely, totally fine. We learned this from Har Sinai. It says on Har Sinai, when the cloud of Hashem was on the mountain, it was very holy. No one was allowed to ascend the mountain, even come close. As soon as the cloud left, it became a regular mountain. And nowadays, anyone who wants is able to climb up Har Sinai, provided we know where exactly it is. But a temporary shul is actually a big discussion if it can be considered a shul or not. Thing is a Gemara. Beisak Nesses Loikhin Teva. If you sold a shul, you're allowed to buy, like you see right behind me, an Aron Kodesh. And we said one of the, I think the Rashba said that it actually means the bima where you read the Torah on. The bima, the wood bima. So teva is either the box that you read the Torah on or the box that you read the Torah. And some say that in the Sephardi Torahs, it's a box that goes around the Sefer Torah. But that's called the teva. You're allowed to sell a shul to buy an Aron Kodesh. Because the holiest object in the shul, of course, is a Sefer Torah. Says the Gemara. Amar Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Reb Yonasan. There is a qualification, and there is an exception to this rule. The Gemara modifies the ruling of the Mishnah. Lo shonu ella beisak nesses shel kfarim. This only applies in a shul which is in a small village. If you have a shul which is in a large city, kiven de me'alma asule le'matzu mezabni. A shul in a small village, everyone's Hamish, everyone knows each other. The shul is built by everybody. Everyone chipped in, and even the next generation, it's owned by everyone jointly. In a large city, they had the masakol, they had city taxes, they had community taxes. Not so common nowadays to have such a thing, but they had that type of thing. The heavily derabim. Once you pay taxes, you don't have a say anymore in the actual building, right? The government owns tons of buildings. Could I say that since I pay taxes, I have a say in what's going on in the building? The security will kick you out of the building. Right? You can't say, I want you to paint this room red and this room orange. I'm a taxpayer. It doesn't work like that. It's public funds. And if you get elected by the public, you'll be able to have a say in what goes on in that building. So shuls in large cities typically were built by community funds. Everyone chipped in. But in the small villages, the local townspeople, they themselves were the ones who got the materials together and they built it themselves and they painted it themselves. And it was a labor of love. And in the large cities, so many people in the city that even if people were personally involved in building it, and they give up any personal stake that they have in the shul. And even if, and this is sometimes you'll see it today, in a large city, you'll have one philanthropist, one wealthy individual building a shul. And you have many places. You have shiks, you have landows, you have many places all over the world in larger cities where you have a shul named after one person because they are the philanthropists and they pay for the whole shul themselves. In Muncie, the large tents is called Schneider's. So you have many different places. You have different shuls which are built by one individual. So if when they built a shul, they gave them money, they built it with such a condition, and we own this property and we're lending it to a shul, that's a valid way they could get the property back afterwards. However, if they built it as a shul and it's concentrated to the shul, it belongs to the shul, right? If I donated $5 million to yeshiva schools and I built them a new building, can I come back 5 years later and says, hey, I need the $5 million, let me take the property back? No. It doesn't work like that. A donation is a donation. It goes into communal funds, even if your name is on the building. So that's what the Gemara says over here. A basic nesses in large cities, can never be sold. You can never sell a shul in a large city. The heavy lay the rabbim. Because it now became public property, became communal property, and therefore it's not just belonging to the people of the city. It now belongs to all Jews worldwide. Jewry belongs to all Jews in the world, and therefore the people of that particular city do not have the ability to sell it because it doesn't belong just to them. It belongs to everyone because the shul, everyone is welcome in the shul. Right? Any shul which tells you can't come in if you don't pay membership or this and that, or if your net worth is not over this or this, or if you don't wear a black hat or a black this, it's a question on the shul. Correct? The shul can make other rules. You can only get an aliyah if this and that. However, but to say you can't come into a shul and daven, everyone in the world is allowed to come into a shul and daven, unless they're in Chaim or something. So therefore, the shul does not belong to them individually, it belongs to the world, it belongs to all Jews in the world. And therefore, in order to sell a shul, you need to get permission from all the Jews in the entire world in order to sell a shul, even if you're going to build a nicer, better, greater shul. It's very interesting, halakha, and this is very practical because with Jewish communities always in transit and always changing, ever constantly. Shuls open, shuls close, shuls expand, shuls contract, shuls move. It's something which happens very often, and it's something which every time before the shul is built, it needs to have a proper sit down with the Rav to discuss how to build a shul in a proper way, and also when it moves. We're going to get to another topic. Are you allowed to destroy a shul, knock down a building in order to build a nicer one? So the halacha is that you're not allowed to knock down an old shul until you build the new shul first. Because otherwise you might get stuck.
The king hoard this, right?
Correct.
So first he made actually, and then after it's destroyed.
It was done simultaneously, but Hortus was a despotic king, so he managed to do things. First, you have to build a new shul, and then you destroy the old one. Here in Pittsburgh, we built a new stadium, 22 years ago. And they first built a new one, and then they had the implosion where they blew up the old one. So you cannot, because very, very often it can happen is that the shul is knocked down, and then when it comes to building, we don't have money for it right now, or something can happen. All right, we're going to just knock it down temporarily. Communist Russia was it was a common ploy that was used. We're going to temporarily use a shul, and we'll give it back to you soon. And they never got it back. If you're within the shul itself, within one building, and you just have to knock down one wall in order to rebuild it, in order to expand it. So first you have to build a new space before you're knocking it down. And 770 was like that. Time permitting, I'll bring a picture of it. That there was in 770, when they expanded the shul in the basement where it is now, and one of the times they expanded it, they first built the whole extension, and there was a wall between the two parts. And then the night of Hoshana Rabbah, they knocked down the wall. The worker said it's going to take them about a month at least to knock down the wall. After Tehillim Hoshana Rabbah, at night, it was so packed. And Bahram said, there's no way in the world that we're going to be able to fit inside some Torah here in Shul. And we have an expansion ready for us. Just the wall's in the way. Let's take it down ourselves. And after Tehillim was over, they found some large iron rods, and the Bahram went and dismantled the entire wall. All by themselves throughout the night into the morning. Big, thick concrete. It was all dismantled by the morning. The workers came in the morning. They were shocked. They just cleaned up and put a little ramp to level the two areas. And that's what happened in the year 1973. Bahram, Yeshiva boys themselves decided to expand 770 on their own. Happened again in the year 2023.
Yeah.
But
There's without permission, in other words.
yeah, they did it without permission. Happened again in 2023, but this time it didn't work. and it became worldwide news. And over 1 billion people around the world, I would say, have heard about 770 based on this. But a shul, which is in a city, cannot be sold. There's a story, I wanted to bring it up. Hold on, let me just pause the share for a second. Not pause the share, pause sharing the screen. Story of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Here it is. All right. There's a story here about the Frierdiker Rebbe. Moshe Beshesky, I'm sure many of you remember him. He used to come to Pittsburgh. He was in, if you remember, there was a Minsky who was the son-in-law of the barbers. It's his grandfather. Moshe Beshesky was a Jew who was, survived the Nazis. He survived the communists. He only left Russia in the 60s. And he was a Chassidish Yid through and through. He was a mashpia in the yeshiva of Haidar Torah, the first Baal Tshuva yeshiva. And he was one time going around raising funds for the yeshiva of Haidar Torah. And he went to a shul in the Bronx. Bronx used to be a very thriving Jewish community with shuls all over. Now many of the shuls are no longer shuls, and the Jews moved from there a long time ago. So Moshe Beshesky and I think his brother was, maybe his father, Michal Beshesky, and he went to the shul in the Bronx before Mincha. He wanted to go there for Mincha and to ask to raise money in the shul. And he came to the shul, and he came early, and he saw the only one in the shul was one person who was sitting at a table in front of the shul on the side. He figured this person must not be the rabbi, because the rabbi was sitting at the head of the table. He's probably waiting for the rabbi to come. And he says, Shalom Aleichem. He says, is a rabbi of the shul here? He says, oh, I'm the rabbi of the shul. He says, oh, I'm sorry, can I sit down? I want to talk to you. He says, yeah, he's about to take this chair at the head of the table. And he says, no, don't sit at that chair. Sit in a side chair, a different seat. He says, okay, fine. Why don't we sit at the head of the table? So he says, no, the rabbi said nobody sits at the head of this table, on this chair. He says, let me tell you my story. And it's a story of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe. He came to America. He was a Holocaust survivor who was completely broken. All of his family were killed in war. And when he came to America, and he was a refugee, he was penniless, and he came to the Frierdiker Rebbe asking what to do. And the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, you were a Rav in Europe, you should become a Rav over here in America too. But he says, in America, there's no Rabbanim positions available. And then it was very difficult. Plus, I don't speak the language. Plus, who's ever going to hire me? Frierdiker Rebbe says, if you get an offer to be a Rav in a shul, you should come and take it up. So a very short time later, he was recommended to become a Rav in a shul in the Bronx. He asked the Frierdiker Rebbe, should he take this position? The Frierdiker Rebbe told him, a shul is a shul, but I don't like the shamus. I don't like the attendant of the shul. It's a very good, suitable for you, but a shul is a shul. I don't like the shamus. I don't like the sexton of the shul. So he took the position. He was wondering why in the world is the Frierdiker Rebbe mentioning the shamus. A very interesting thing to mention. So he asked the Frierdiker Rebbe something, and Frierdiker Rebbe repeated. So the shul is a shul, like the shamus. So he took the position, and he found out a short time later what the Frierdiker Rebbe obviously had in mind, because the shamus of the shul made him tremendous issues, tremendous opposition, because until that time there was a little bit of a flux where there's no rabbi of the shul, and the shamus had all the say in everything that was going on. But now that the rabbi came, and now the Rav is in charge of the shul, and the shamus is now just the attendant of the shul, he became very upset, and he was always fighting and bad-mouthing, and and causing the Rav's life, the Rabbinu's life, to be completely miserable. And at one point, it became way too much. He went back to the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he's skipping a little bit, skipping a big part of the story here. He came back to the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he told, he came to Yitzchok by the Frierdiker Rebbe. He told the Frierdiker Rebbe everything that was going on. Frierdiker Rebbe listened, and Frierdiker Rebbe says, "I already told you before, last time. A shul is a shul. I just don't like the shamus. And go back, and everything will be okay. Not to worry." And then usually it will be time to leave the Yitzchok, but you could tell that Frierdiker Rebbe didn't sort of give a signal for him to leave. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was deep in thought for a little while. And the Frierdiker Rebbe turned to him, and the Frierdiker Rebbe asked him, "Could you please come back again in 3 Sundays from now?" And he said, "Of course." And Frierdiker Rebbe is asking me to come back. And that's what he did. He went back to his shul, and he was sleeping, and for some reason he couldn't sleep properly. He wasn't feeling well. Like he was feeling a little anxiety. So he got up, and it was still dark outside, but he decided he can't sleep anyways. He's going to go to shul and try learning something. He walks over to shul, and as he is walking up towards the shul, he sees that there's a light on inside. This is surprising. It's the middle, it's very early in the morning, and he sees on the street, he sees the president of the shul and the treasurer of the shul all walking towards the shul at this hour of the morning. And he looks at them and says, "What are you guys doing here?" And they told him, "Quiet, Rabbi. Please follow us." And they all walked in together. And as they walked in, they saw the light was on because the shamus of the shul was in the shul. And he was emptying out all the contents of the pushkas into his own pockets. He was stealing the money from the pushkas, taking it for himself. And he was so busy what he was doing, he didn't even realize the 3 of them walking into the shul. And right away, of course, the shamus was fired that day, and then life suddenly became peaceful. He came back to 770 3 years later. That's 3 Sundays later, and he saw a very large crowd outside of 770. He asked everyone, "What's happening?" And he said, "This is Levi of the Frierdiker Rebbe. It was Yud Shvat, and was the day of the Frierdiker Rebbe's passing, and was the Levi of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the funeral." And this Rabbi Rabinowitz came back. He had a personal invitation from the Frierdiker Rebbe to come to his Levaya. And he continued in the shul. That life was going very good, and the shul was, Baruch Hashem, expanding and getting more members, and the shul itself wasn't large enough. And behind the shul, in the building behind it, but sharing a wall with the shul, there was a butcher shop. And the butcher shop was also doing very well. It was a kosher butcher, but it wasn't a Shomer Shabbos Jew. It was a kosher butcher. And it wasn't a Jew who came to shul too often. So this butcher shop wanted to expand, move to a new store. So they made the deal. The butcher shop found a larger location, larger premises, and he sold his butcher shop to the shul. And the shul bought it, and they expanded it, and now they were happy to have more room in the shul. But I guess they were all sort of greenhorns. They weren't the most savviest people, the people of the shul. And they forgot to write a proper contract when they sold the shul. But they didn't think they need to have it because, I mean, he's a butcher and he's a Jewish person and he's trustworthy and everything good. And the butcher shop is doing business, Baruch Hashem, doing very well. And he started looking for a storage room. He started looking around town, and then suddenly the butcher shop realized we never signed a contract when I sold the first premises. Legally, it's still mine. Let me go and claim back and say this place is mine. No scruples, and he decided to let me get my old shop back to use it as storage. He hired a lawyer, and he was sure that he's going to win because on paper everything was right, everything he did. They went to court, and the butcher with his lawyer managed to win the case handily, easily, and the shul board received a court order telling them they have to leave the premises by a certain date. And if not, they're going to call in the police. Unlike today, where someone could squat and it takes about 10 years to get someone out, then justice was swift. And he didn't know what to do. He was at wit's end. He's a shul. And he decided that he's going to go to the Rebbe, our Rebbe, son of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he came to the Frierdiker Rebbe. He came to our Rebbe, he came to Yichidus by the Rebbe. And the Rebbe told him right away, after he told the Rebbe the whole story, the Rebbe told him, my father-in-law already told you that a shul is a shul. I mean, a shul is a shul. A shul is not a butcher shop. So what is there to worry? There's nothing to worry about. Once a Frierdiker Rebbe told you that a shul is a shul, it cannot be changed. And everything is going to turn out the way it should. And so he went back. He didn't see any solution in sight. The night before the date when the police would be called to forcibly remove them from the premises, he had a dream. He slept and he couldn't fall asleep. When he fell asleep, he finally had a dream. And in the dream, he was in the shul, and he saw the Frierdiker Rebbe sitting in the chair at the head of the table, and standing next to him was the Rebbe, his son-in-law. And he said, "This is the Frierdiker Rebbe sitting in the same chair that now I don't let anybody else to sit in this chair." And he says, in the dream, the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, "Don't worry, Hashem will make everything turning out to the best because." And like he said, then the Rebbe told him, said in the dream, he says, my father-in-law said that the shul is a shul. What do you have to worry about? Now, the Frierdiker Rebbe already passed away several years before that. And he was and he didn't realize when he woke up. It's the first time ever he woke up and the sun was shining already. He slept in that day for the first time that he could ever remember in memorable history. And he woke up and he was shocked. How could I wake up so late, especially in such a monumentous day like today, when they want to remove everything from the shul? He quickly threw on some clothes. He ran to the shul, and he comes and he sees a very large crowd outside of the building. And then there's policemen, and the policemen are going and they're taking furniture and items out of the shul, benches, and putting them on the street. And there's a large crowd arguing with the police. The police blocked off the street, and he's a rabbi, and he's coming late. He's saying, "Oy vey, what's happening here?" Then something very dramatic happened. In the butcher's new store, a few blocks away, the butcher was walking around the store, and suddenly a very large light fixture, which was attached to the ceiling, fell down and hit the butcher right in the head. And the butcher was knocked unconscious. And he called an ambulance, and in the ambulance, they tried resuscitating him. He woke up in the ambulance, and as soon as he woke up, he says, "Please take the ambulance straight to the shul. I know why this happened to me." And he went, and they took the ambulance to the shul. They let it in, and suddenly the ambulance walks into the building, and then he says, "I know why this happened to me, why this light fixture fell on my head suddenly." He says, "It's all my fault." He says, "Because I trying to steal the shul from the shul who belongs to. Really, they paid me. They just never wrote a contract. Please stop emptying the shul." And he called his lawyer and he says, "I'm going to sign right now a contract that they sold it to me, and please stop emptying the shul." And that's what they did. The police arrived. The butcher admitted that he lied. He made up the entire story, and he received payment for the old shop. And then afterwards, the police even brought the furniture back into the shul. So now he tells Rabbi Vishesky, he says, you understand why I don't let anybody sit in that chair. Because since I saw the Frierdiker Rebbe in my dream sitting here in this chair, nobody else could sit over here in this place from now on. So as the Frierdiker Rebbe says, a shul is a shul. The sanctity of a shul is very special. We know that every single shul will be brought to Eretz Yisrael, to the Holy Land when Mashiach comes, will be attached to the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, when you're in a shul currently, and this is the Rebbe brings, I don't really see so much in other places that brings this. If you're sitting in a shul, realize to yourself that you're sitting in the Beis HaMikdash, because the shul that you're going to have is going to go to Eretz Yisrael, be attached to the Beis HaMikdash. You're sitting currently right now in the Beis HaMikdash.
There's other shuls to be attached to the Beis HaMikdash. Correct.
Yeah, that's what Mesechta Sanhedrin says. Right, so you're sitting currently right now in the place of Kedushin, in the place. Imagine being in the Beis HaMikdash right now. You actually are in the Beis HaMikdash, because even though it's only going to be in the future, but it's a shina, it's a change which will happen, and therefore it's something which is going to come back and be already now. It already has that effect. So you're right now currently sitting in the place of the Beis HaMikdash, and the reason why it's the Beis HaMikdash is because it's being used as a shul. So therefore, it says in a large city, you should not sell a shul. You cannot sell a shul. What is considered to be a large city? Pnei Yeshua, Yeshua Falek, during he was in the times about the Maggid Mezrich. Alter Rebbe, Chaim Sofer's father-in-law. Chaim Sofer was in times of the Alter Rebbe. He was about the same age as the Chaim Sofer, about the Maggid and Alter Rebbe's times, Pnei Yeshua. No, Pnei Yeshua was earlier. Mekiva Eger. Oh, yeah. No, Pnei Yeshua was earlier, yeah. Oh, yeah. About 100 years before that.
He was like in the days of the Baal Shem Tov or something.
Yeah, Pnei Yeshua, right. The Baal Shem Tov traveled to the Pnei Yeshua several times, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Chaim Sofer was born actually much later, actually, yeah.
So what he says is a krach, a city where a shul cannot be sold. He only considers it to be a very large city, meaning not just a city, but sort of like a metropolis. And he has a few qualifications, and he says, based on his qualifications, he says nowadays we don't have any more din krach, the din of a large city. The din of a mega city, we don't really have these anymore. Some of them being that there have to be guests which come to stay there for a while. People have to sleep in the shul, and the shul is a place where people sleep. So nowadays, it's all depending on the local conditions. Rabbi Vosner, right, from Bnei Brak, the Shevet Levi, he paskins that nowadays, what it would seem like is that if you have a central shul, can never be sold. However, a shul which is not a central shul, if you have a shtibel in the city, so that has a different din. That would have a din, because he says nowadays cities don't necessarily go according to the place; it goes according to the community. And you could be in one place and if you live in one city, you could live in Brooklyn and be part of a large community and be part of a little shtibel. And it all depends really on the actual place itself and what it is. We're going to have next in the Gemara discussions about different types of small cities and places, which they used to have a winter shul, a summer shul, and all the halachas which are connected with this. We're also going to come into the halachas. What do you do with old svarim that are no longer usable? Old Sefer Torah. I mean, where this Aron Kodesh here in this room has Sefer Torah which are not valid currently. So could you keep?
Well, does this English there's a Sefer Torah that we are not valid?
The ones in this in the main shul those have the kosher Sefer Torah. So we're going to go through all these halachas today with Rava, Ravina, Rav Ashi. Other halachas, are you allowed to use a bima for anything else but a Sefer Torah, because seemingly it has a very strong kedusha. Well, how about the scraps of tefillin while they're being used, while after they're being used? Could you use a Aron Kodesh for a pasul Sefer Torah? And this is based on the Gemara. We'll probably conclude with this. Based on the Gemara we had until now, that you cannot bring anything down in kedusha. You cannot lower levels of standards of kedusha. Only raise standards of kedusha. An Aron Kodesh, an ark, is a very high level. We said it's even higher, as our Mishnah says. A ark is higher than a shul. It's more holier than a shul. So if the Aron Kodesh, an ark, was used for a Sefer Torah, and then they found the psul, something invalid in the Sefer Torah, could you put it back into the Aron Kodesh? Because now it's no longer a valid Sefer Torah. So the level of kedusha of holiness should be different. And in general, are you even allowed to keep a Sefer Torah that's not kosher, it's not valid? Because there's an isser, the Torah says you're not allowed to keep an invalid Sefer Torah. There's halacha. Because you might come to think it's kosher and people will come to use it. The Noid of Yehuda writes, we see in the Beis HaMikdash, you had the Aron, the ark, and inside of it you had the luchos, 2 tablets and Moshe got. You also had this shivrei luchos, the broken tablets. Broken tablets are no longer valid. And they were kept inside of the Aron as well, inside of the ark in the Beis HaMikdash. So we see you are allowed to keep an invalid Sefer Torah, even in the Aron, even in the holiest place, the holiest Aron Kodesh in the world, in the Aron, in the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy of Holies, even there they kept the apostle Sefer Torah. They kept the broken luchos. All right, so he says, and then for sure you could keep a apostle Sefer Torah. Maybe the first brings that answer, and he says it's different. The Aron Kodesh was built for that. The Aron in the Beis HaMikdash, the Aron in the Mishkan was built only after the luchos were broken. So it was built having in mind to have both sets of luchos inside. But you cannot bring a proof from there. And he says he can't really find a proper halacha. And he says, leave it to the public to decide and see what people actually do. He says, if it's a middle of the Torah reading on Shabbos and they find the psul, something invalid, they need to bring the Sefer Torah back to the original Aron Kodesh. Because there's not enough time to go start running around and putting it in separate places. However, he says you should not keep a pasul, a Sefer Torah, which is invalid for a long time. Rather, you should fix it as soon as possible. He also said that nowadays, it's not so uncommon to have an invalid Sefer Torah. Because a sefer is a very unique art today. It used to be that everyone was a sefer. Everyone could write a Sefer Torah. Even Ksava, and it was only sort of like a hither, to beautify the mitzvah, to write the Sefer Torah, Ksava Shuri, in Torah writing. But everyone was able to write. Every person who was learning Torah was able to write. Nowadays, it's a very specific art, you could say, that only a sefer is able to write a Sefer Torah. Therefore, it's not, if a Sefer Torah becomes invalid, it could take time for it to become kosher. So it's more common to have invalid Sefer Torah. So that's why we have in this Aron Kodesh 3 Sefer Torah, which still have to be fixed. Shulchan Aruch passes the halacha that if you have an invalid Sefer Torah, you have to fix it within 30 days or put it into Geniza. Geniza is shemus. Within 30 days. We're going to see in our Gemara the place where you bury a Sefer Torah which is invalid. It says you bury it next to a Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar, somebody who learned Torah. And if you're able to guarantee that this Sefer Torah has a certain sign in it, everyone's going to know it's pasul, it's invalid. So then you're able to hold the Sefer Torah for even a longer amount of time. As long as you have in mind that you're going to fix it. If you're never going to fix it, he says you should still put into Geniza. But if you have in mind you're going to fix it and you have a valid symbol, a way to differentiate this Torah from another, then you could keep it. So that's why in our Kodesh here, all the Sefer Torah that are puzzle, they have the gartel, the belt, which is around the Torah, is on the outside, not on the inside. And that's a sign that only a Sefer Torah, which has the gartel on the outside, is it puzzle, is it invalid? But if it has it on the inside, then it's valid. And this is the common custom today. You have it all over the world, that they take a Sefer Torah, which is puzzle, they keep it in the Aron Kodesh, and they just put the gartel on the outside. You keep it in a side place in the Aron Kodesh itself, as long as they do it. My grandfather, when he was in Russia, he had over there. He was able to make a little bit of money there with all the different black market dealings that were going on. And before he left Russia, I mean, he used the money to support many yeshiva, several yeshivas, like to give them food during the war when it was very expensive, etc. But before he left Russia, he bought a Sefer Torah from someone. Now, this Sefer Torah was buried for 4 years underground in a courtyard belonging to a non-Jew. It was a Jewish person who, was scared that Sefer Torah will be destroyed by the Nazis. And so he hid it, not in his yard, but in a non-Jewish neighbor's yard. He hid the Sefer Torah. And afterwards, they rescued the Sefer Torah. They brought it there. So my grandfather bought the Sefer Torah from him, and he brought it with him out of Russia, which is pretty amazing, smuggling it over borders, on backpacks, through woods in the middle of the night.
And then your grandfather smuggled it out of Russia.
Yeah. When he himself smuggled out of Russia, but he smuggled it with him. 1946, and he came here, and the Sefer Torah is in use every Shabbos now. Now it's in, it was in Scranton, PA. I think now they just moved it to Florida, into a shul. Now, what was unique about the Sefer Torah, since it was 4 years underground, it was wrapped up in whatever box that they had back then, but the moisture seeped in over there, and there was one long parchment of the Sefer Torah, which all the letters turned green, just from all the water and moisture that seeped in over the years. The one that it was open to, the one that everything else is rolled up, it was okay. It had to fix it, but they had to just to touch it up. But that one, it was discolored, so they had to take that one parchment of the Sefer Torah. They had to bury it in Geniza, and then they had to write one completely new parchment for the Sefer Torah, which shows interesting. The Sefer Torah on one parchment of about 5-6 columns is a different type of ksav.
I mean, I have read it one time, an interesting